Abby, welcome back to my channel. I don't think I've ever opened a video like that before, have I? I probably should. I should probably introduce myself. Anyway, that aside, today's video is actually going to be a review on the brand new Maybelline foundation. This is the Maybelline Dream Velvet Soft Matte Hydrating Foundation. I won't lie to you, there were two main factors in me picking up this foundation. First of all, it calls itself a soft matte hydrating foundation. Personally, I really do prefer sort of matte-ish skin. I'm not really a huge fan of that really dewy look. I'll take a little bit of highlighter on the tops of my cheeks and like on my brow bone and that sort of thing, but I don't want to be shiny. And I do have drier skin, so I mean, I need to find things that are moisturizing my skin, but I don't want to be dewy. You know what I mean? It's very hard. So this calls itself soft matte and hydrating. So right there, that tells me it's got two things that I wanted. Second of all, this was on display right beside the brand new L'Oreal Magic Lumi Cushion Foundation, and I've seen a ton of reviews about that foundation on YouTube. Everybody seems to love it, and I haven't really seen any reviews on this foundation, so I thought if I bought this foundation, maybe I would like it, and then also I would be able to do a review for you. But, long story short, I probably wish I would have went with the L'Oreal foundation because I don't love this foundation. First, let's talk about the price of this foundation. That is something I do like. It was only $14 Canadian at the Walmart where I bought it. As with most drugstore foundations, I can imagine that it does fluctuate a little bit, a couple of dollars, depending on where you buy it from. But Walmart is usually the cheapest, as far as I can tell from around where I am. That being said, when you buy this foundation, you are not supposed to buy it alone. You are supposed to buy it with their Dream Velvet blender. It's essentially a teardrop-shaped sponge on top of a stick, and that's how you're supposed to apply, and that is an additional, like, $8, I think, so realistically, then this ends up being more expensive. I didn't buy that because, okay, first of all, I have kind of, like, a vendetta, if you will. I get very angry when you're supposed to buy a product to go with another product. I want my makeup products to work fantastically by themselves with whatever I choose to use them, and then if something else happens to complement it, that's okay. But I don't want to have to use it with this other thing that I have to buy. You know what I mean? Your product should be fantastic standalone. And the other part of the reason is that I've actually had that, like, sponge on the end of a stick type thing before, and it's just really, like, weird to use. Like, I would rather use a brush or a sponge. This is, like, a weird hybrid, and I don't like it, so I didn't buy it. In hindsight, though, a lot of people do say that this foundation does apply a little bit better with that than with a normal brush or a normal sponge, but overall, the reviews don't seem to be different enough that I regret not buying it. It sounds like it makes this foundation better, but it doesn't make it awesome. Another one of the main problems with this foundation and with a lot of Maybelline foundations, unfortunately, is shade selection. There are 12 shades in this range, and they basically range from light to light. The darkest shade is still pretty light in my personal opinion. I've said before that I have this rule when it comes to foundations that if the lightest shade is too dark for me and the darkest shade is too light for, like, Angela Bassett, you need to fix your shade selection. Or even, like, Lupita comes to mind immediately, too. She can't wear your darkest shade. You gotta fix the range, because it's not okay. And the other thing I don't like about the shade selection in this product is they're all very, very pink. Naturally, when I try out a foundation, I gravitate towards the lightest shade immediately, and I was lucky because they had little testers of them at this particular Walmart, and that shade was, like, bright pink. It felt like I was putting one of those really moussey, light pink, like, liquid lipstick formulas on the back of my hand. Like, it was pink. And so I had to move down in the range a little bit to find one that maybe wasn't so bright pink on my skin. So I ended up going with number 15, Ivory. This one is inarguably a little bit too dark for me, to be honest. It doesn't really blend into my skin as perfectly as I wish it did, but it's just a little bit darker. It's not bright pink, and so that makes it a little more wearable. It's easier to lighten up a foundation by putting on lots of concealer and with powder and that sort of thing than to erase bright pink. As far as the application of this foundation is concerned, that rhymed, I really do like the feel of it going on because it is very, very moisturizing. It's a very moussey formula, and you put it on and you can definitely tell that you are adding moisture to your skin. I'm very wrinkly. I always have been, ever since I was born. Even in my baby pictures, I got very wrinkly upper cheeks. And when I put this on, I can feel it smoothing those out, and then I smile, and it definitely looks nicer. Like, this is fantastic for adding hydration. But I definitely do have a problem with the coverage and the wear. I would definitely give this foundation a light to medium coverage, more so light. And it's definitely not buildable because it is so hydrating, you know what I mean? It's essentially like putting water on top of water. But the problem with this, at least on my skin, I felt like is even though it's light to medium coverage, it sits on my skin the way full coverage does. You know what I mean? It sits in all the lines a little bit. It sits in all the pores and accentuates any like rough spots I have. I felt like around my upper lip especially, it was like clinging to whatever hair is there and clinging to all the dry spots like so intensely, and it was just not sitting very nicely. It was one of those foundations that you would look at me in real life and go, ugh, her skin looks weird. That being said, though, it did photograph flawlessly. I took like one picture the first day I wore this, and I was like so unhappy with how it looked, but in that picture, I looked at it and I was like, oh, my skin looks perfect. So, I mean, there's that. That's a positive, if you will, but my personal preference is that my skin looks really good in real life. I'd rather it look good in real life than in pictures, so I'm going to call that not a win. I also find that if you don't have like bone dry skin, like my skin is pretty dry, but I wouldn't say it's super dry, you know what I mean? I have combination skin that leans more towards dry. I get oily in my forehead and down my nose, but then the rest of my face is very dry. I would say that this, if you have any kind of moisture in your skin already, doesn't really stay true to the soft matte claim. It goes on pretty soft matte. After the first hour, it's pretty soft matte, but after like maybe 2 to 3 hours of wear, you're looking a little bit shiny, you know what I mean? Especially my nose was like a reflective surface, if you will. I definitely was a little bit bummed out by that. It didn't have the best wear, and the longer I wore it, the more shiny my face got all over, even in the spots where I'm extremely dry. And I just essentially overall felt like the longer I wore it, the more the pigment kind of dissipated and kind of blended into my skin by itself, and all I was left with was the hydration, which is good. I mean, I like having hydrated skin, but I wish that the foundation itself, like the coverage, would have hung around a little bit longer. I did apply this both with a brush and with a sponge at different times. In the little demo here, I am applying it with a brush, but I did apply it with a beauty blender later on and not on camera, and realistically, I still felt like it went on very patchy and very uneven. It's very hard to get an even surface. Like I said earlier, I really like to cling to like whatever hair or dry patches I had around my mouth, and then it would like to skip over my cheeks a little bit. So overall, I would maybe give this foundation like a 5.5 out of 10. That kills me to say because I have so many other drugstore foundations that I love, and especially foundations from Maybelline. Like Maybelline is usually a brand that I really like, but this foundation just didn't do it for me. I really liked that it was so super hydrating, and I really liked that it photographed well, but I didn't really particularly like the application. Shade selection is baloney, and I wish it had clung to my skin longer. And that, by the way, I think I forgot to mention, I'm talking about that both with primer and without. I wore it without a couple days and then with a couple days, and I didn't see a huge difference in application or in wear. So anyway, that's everything I have to say about the Maybelline Dream Velvet Foundation. Have you tried this foundation? If so, what do you think? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas or requests for future videos, I would love to hear them. I will see you next time. Bye!